Hello, everyone. Glad to see you here tonight. We're going to start off with our new programming on the morning watch. So this is our initial show, and I hope everybody can see. And let me see what we got going on here now. All right. If you would give me a one if you can hear. Mrs. Steve isn't with me tonight, as you can see. She's up sleeping. But I appreciate everybody being here tonight. And as always, I'll do a little quick introduction. I'm a retired law enforcement. I'm Steve. I had a 20-year career in law enforcement. Started off my career in the jail, went to road, and then went into investigations. I've taken all different types of training in law enforcement, from SWAT all the way up to becoming a state certified crime scene tech. Which helped my investigative career. And then after I retired, I decided to come into the world of the true crime world and the web sleuths and take on the being an ambassador for law enforcement and trying to share how law enforcement looks at certain things. And for all the my members and those that have watched me as my channel's grown and as we expand and the things that we do with this program and this community and this channel is that, of course, trying to, share some of the information that law enforcement has. And also our channel, we go out and we work some cold cases and things. And I do a lot of collaboration with other channels. And it's been a great journey. And I look forward that as we expand our channel and we go into new areas and look at new things. And I see a lot of great things that we're going to be going into this year. Currently, I'm trying to plan another trip up north, working on the Evansdale murders, going up to see Drew in the next few weeks if weather permits. And also to go see Larry in reference to his cold case involving Amber out of Texas. But so we have a lot of things planned. But tonight, we'll be talking about just about anything y'all want to talk to. We'll be doing a lot of the chat stuff. A little bit of housekeeping, as always. In our chat, any of the cases we talk about, we don't mention people's names or initials. Be respectful of the mods and, have a nice, clean debate. And if you have any questions, of course, we'll address them. But some of the cases we'll be looking at, of course, is what is the headlines currently, and a lot of information has been going on, and a lot of movement in this case with the murders of the 4 college students in Idaho. And they've been moving Kohlberger today. He arrived in Idaho. So as always with these cases, if you have information that law enforcement needs, absolutely contact law enforcement. Now that the trials are and someone's arrested and the court system starts moving, as you know, law enforcement needs all the information they can. The prosecution does, the defense does on all these cases. So if you have information, absolutely provide it to those personnel that need it. And then, of course, we'll be covering a little bit tonight. If anyone has any questions about the governor's warrant, I had that asked to me last night. Went and did some research and got some information on that. He arrived this evening. And of course, here's Brian Kohlberger. And if you have any, and there's another tip line for him. Got some pictures of him, and of course, the common stuff. This information here is on the Evansdale murders. If you have any information on that. And then, of course, we have with Libby and Nabby and Delphi. And this is something our channel also does that for people that come in that doesn't know about what our channel does. We created a database of children that's been that are missing, murdered, and this database allows you to go in there and look for different age group of children, including children 19 and younger. And of course, then we have the Flora 4 and Dylan Rounds. And all of these are cases that I've covered up until now during my first 7 months of my channel and have removed, and Michael Vaughn. And of course, this here is Amber Crum out of Texas. And that's some good news that we'll be looking at in a little bit. But anyway, let's get over here to chat and see who's here tonight and get started with the program. And I'll be going back through all the different types and different ones of the cases as y'all check them. And let's see here. Happy New Year. We got Verbal Judo in here. Appreciate it, Verbal. Good to see you. Copper Horse, thank you for being here. And Chelsea. And let's see here. Belinda, good to see you. Mindy, can't believe you're up this late. Your eyes are burning. I'm a night owl. I've spent most of my career at night and a lot of hours at the Waffle House drinking a lot of coffee. And it was I enjoy working at night. I enjoy these late hours. And I don't usually go to sleep till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for whatever reason. Drives Mrs. Steve crazy. And if you're new to the program and you don't know who Mrs. Steve is, she usually sits right over here beside me. And we've been together. We've been married 33 years, so we've been longer, been together longer than that. Well, it'll be 33 in just 3 months. And had to get my anniversary date back down. Pigeon Mac, good to see you. And Single Mama 4. Yeah. Single Mama 4 almost dozed off. I'm glad you hit the notification. I'm glad you did too. Nancy, good to see you here. Nadia, Sally, Hiller. She says, Mrs. Steve, first time I heard you do this interview, I thought you said you started off your career in the jail. I did, working in the jail. And I've got to get some of my notes and things from my, where the inmates, when I first went into the jail system, as far as working as a jailer, who is the person that houses and maintains and books individuals in, and make sure that the jail doesn't burn down during the night due to the inmate activities. There's some wild characters in the jail, but you'll often hear me do the law enforcement slang. I started off in the jail, and I can see where someone would see that as another interpretation. That's funny. Oh man. Let's see here. Copper Horse, Nightbot. I'm glad Nightbot's up and working. I forgot about that. Nancy. And Nancy is correct. I think he meant working in the jail. You are absolutely correct. Oh, man. All right. Let's see here. Who else we got in here? But so y'all just going to have to bear with me in this here Google machine. Like I said, Mrs. Steve is normally the one that takes care of this stuff for me. And but we'll get it done. We'll see how it goes. And Jennifer, good to see you. Let's see here. Cocomelon. Is it strange? Okay, here we go. Let me get into another picture on this. Is it strange the FBI went back to the house on 20th December for 20 minutes without PPI? Did they plant DNA? No. If you're of the mindset that law enforcement is going to be planting evidence and stuff of that, this isn't the channel for you. I'm not really into conspiracy. If you believe that law enforcement that's what the FBI does. Appreciate to have you here. I'm open for all different types of stuff, but we're really not here to start wild theories and allegations of that such. But appreciate your perspective, but that's really not what we're here for. Let's see here. And let's see what else we got here. Let's see here. We got Jennifer. Let's see. I already mentioned her, Mrs. Thing. Hello, Mr. Steve in chat. Is this a new insomnia crew? Yes. Welcome to my world. This is what I do at night. Normally, I'm just out cruising different channels. I'm probably subscribed to, I don't know, a couple hundred channels. And I just cruise through there, a lot on the small channels where I came from. You know, it hadn't been that long, but I did start off, you know, like everyone else. And as we move forward and our channel grows and stuff, I still visit the other channels and enjoy them. There's a lot of good content creators out there, and I respect a lot of them. They have some great content. And let's see what else we got here. But yeah, this is the new Insomnia Crew. We're going to be doing this show twice a week. We'll be doing it on Wednesday and Sunday to start with. And as we grow, it's just whatever the audiences and the people want and whatever the topics are and ever how I can assist, that's what I want to do. And single mom of 4 here, that's where you started out your career out of the jail. And I hope you mean as a jailer. Oh, that's funny. Oh, let's see here. Oh, okay. Single mom of 4. And I'm glad that you like being here in chat. And that's what we want to do and look at some things. And like I said, we're going to talk about some of these cases tonight and where we stand and what I think that is going to move forward. Everything from Richard Allen to Brian Kohlberger. Brian, and what's going to happen in the next day or two with Kohlberger, of course, the probable cause affidavits being released. Because that's what the prosecutor advised Thompson when he spoke about how they look at these cases and then how stuff is sealed until the defendant has an opportunity to read the warrant, and then the information that will be released as far as the probable cause. Hope the courts allows that, and that all that information is released tomorrow. And of course, you'll see a lot of coverage of that tomorrow. And it will be something that will answer a lot of questions about what went on within that residence that night. And did he act alone? And what type of evidence they have, which I suspect and expect will be DNA, and a lot of it. And let's see here. Let's see. Let's see here. Somebody, that's so sweet you to say, Pigeon Mac. It means a lot to hear. Thank you so much. Absolutely. We owe Jennifer Rochelle a lot of credit. She does a lot of work, great mod. And she helped our on our Nightbot and everything. Her and Mrs. Steve got everything organized, although Mrs. Steve just communicated when Rochelle came up with the plan of how to implement that, and absolutely was brilliant. The work that she's done for our channel and other channels, couldn't do it without her. Absolutely appreciate and adore her. I want to see him in that World War II helmet again. I have a helmet just like that. Actually, I believe it's more of the Vietnam era helmet, but some of our SWAT gear, our older SWAT gear, from what I could see from the distance, the profile of that, yes, it was an interesting addition of moving him. I understood why they were moving him. I understood when he left and the flight was scheduled late in the day or during the day, and bringing him into the airport at night, low light conditions and everything, from the tactical standpoints of moving him at night with traffic volume being low and lighting conditions. Tactically, it's extremely sound and easier to move people at night than it is in the daytime with all the traffic issues. And if something does go wrong, that you have more people on the roadways and there's more potential for collateral damage. Whereas at night, when you can close down them intersections and you do and make movements through towns a whole lot easier. And so there are some tactical advantages for moving people at late in the day. From my standpoint, yeah, summer wells. At some point, I've got to get on that. Absolutely. I've been asked about that several times, and it's not. It's just that we've been so busy, and I've got to catch up. It'd probably be. Hopefully, they can get some progress made on that case before I can get. I hope they solve it tomorrow. It doesn't appear to be the case, but I hope they absolutely make some great advances on that case because it needs to. Anytime you have a child that is missing, and you absolutely, your heart breaks for that family. Let's see here. Who else we got here? Black Rose, Steve and Mrs. Steve. Mrs. Steve is sound asleep right now. Poor old Mrs. Steve. Oh, man. There's Don. Good to see you, Don. Good. Glad you made it. And then we got Lynn in here. Good to see you. Let's see here. Waffle House. Man, I love Waffle House. But, of course, who doesn't? When I was up in Indiana, I had lunch with Deb and Mrs. Purdue, and we went into extremely upscale restaurant for lunch. And I told them it looked a lot like some of our Waffle Houses in Georgia. Not even, you can't even, imagine the difference. The only thing that upscale restaurant had in common with Waffle House, they had double doors. That's it. That's the only thing they had in common. Oh, let's see here. Let's see. Hey, there's Purdue. Speaking of Purdue, there she is. She's up late tonight. Glad to see you here. Got some new names here. Indy Pam. Hello, good to see you. Glad you're here. Let's see. Don Spain, are you running the Google machine by yourself? Yes, the whole internet is at risk. And with that being mentioned, I'll show you how much at risk. One of the things I was thinking about, that there's a lot of ways and a lot of different directions that we're going to move this channel in. And of course, covering good news, here late night, and for what type of audience and the crowd I have no idea. I have no idea of the topics that the night owls and of this, want to talk about. And of course, you've got the key cases that people want to discuss, but what else do they want to talk about? And, is some of it just going to be good news that they want to talk about? And which I brought up, I looked up some good news. And one of the good news is that there's an individual that during this last big storm we had, that he was basically freezing to death, him and other people that were trapped in the storm. And so he wrote a letter. They broke into a school, and he saved many lives. and he wrote a letter, and absolutely, it's some of the good news, and it's how people should and would uh, is appreciated by law enforcement, because here in the South we don't have a lot of bad winter storms, but we did in '93, and I saw the best of society come together. Um, there was, we had 2.5 feet of snow, which I know up north is nothing. But here in North Georgia, that is something significant. We had people that couldn't get fuel, couldn't get food, and you had whole communities walking to each other's homes and heating and bringing whatever they could to heat and warm up one house, and bringing foods over, and they united and they survived. And that's the best of what society can do, and it gives you hope in society, because in law enforcement you see the bad side of it so much. Very rarely do you ever see what good people can do united. But in this case, he writes this letter. I'm terribly sorry about breaking into the school, um, and breaking into the kitchen. He said, he got stuck out there at 8 p.m. Friday and slept in his truck with two strangers, and they're just trying to survive and not die. And there was seven elderly people also, and they were out of fuel. And so he had to do what he had to do to save everyone. And so he broke into a school where they had water, bathroom facilities, food, and he signed it Merry Christmas. And absolutely, people do that. There's nothing wrong with it. You do what's necessary for the benefit of society, and there's nothing that anyone can do. It's just a great news and a great story that everyone will be able to tell, that survived that due to this one individual's initiative. Like things like that. But talking about breaking the internet, I decided that one thing I'm going to do occasionally is I'm going to bring up a fact from my career. And I had 20 good years. And like I said, I was on the SWAT team. I was on actually our department when they started the first SWAT team. I was one of the founding members of that team. And so I got to see a lot of people come in during my career. And I spent 16 or 17 years on the SWAT team. And I wasn't known for having baby hands. And so everything I touched, I pretty much destroyed. Well, anyway, sheriff came in one day, and he had this brand new sawed off shotgun that a individual had presented him. And he handed it to me. He says, what do you think of this? And so I looked at it, worked the action one time, and it broke. And everyone during the briefing, we was being briefed right before our road patrol, right before we went out on the road. And so I broke his firearm, and everyone in the room was going, "Oh, you're in trouble." And the sheriff looked around. And he said, "No, it's not his fault. It's mine. I shouldn't have never let him look at it." But just one of those things from my career, for what I was noted for, and one of those moments that I'll never forget. Just in the last year, that sheriff has passed. I hate that. He was a good man. Absolutely good man. But all right. All criminals here. Good to see you. Good to see you. Late night listening. Let's go. All right. Unsolved crimes uncovered. Late night for Steve. He's committed. It's good to see you, Unsolved. That crime's a great channel. I appreciate everything she does, and I watch some of her stuff also. Let's see here. JJ says, I don't think familiar DNA had anything to do with the Idaho case. I think the white car and old-fashioned police work solved it. I believe that they had him on the short list. Absolutely. And then, of course, DNA may have come in and played a big part in it, and it will at some point. You don't go into a residence and do and have that type of violence with 4 different individuals, and some of them have defensive wounds without some type of transfer of DNA. I've been in a lot of bad situations and a lot of fights, and I know about swapping DNA. And Mrs. Steve knows about cleaning up after some of those violent encounters. And so I anticipate that that will be part of the probable cause affidavit. Single mom 4, I noticed that Coburg walked pretty good in shackles. I couldn't laugh out loud. And it depends on what all he was shackled up with. There's a lot of restraining systems out there, everything from shock belts to knee braces and or not. I mean, they just use the waist chains and leg irons. There's a lot of different ways they could have restrained him and prepped him. I know that for being transported on certain type of commercial aircrafts, certain restraints can't be used, but he was put on a private jet, and I don't know of those smaller jets what type of restraints could be used by the feds. I don't know what their guidelines are, but on some of the commercial flights, they restrict certain things. I've had to transport prisoners. I've from California back to Georgia, and then of course I've taken them. I took one guy who was a murderer, took him down to serve the rest of his life in Florida, and when he finished serving his life sentence in Florida, he'll be coming back to Georgia to spend the rest of his life here, of his natural life. I mean, you know, he's just a bad individual, no matter what state he was in. He murdered a guy here and attempted to murder several people in Florida. He was a young fella. When I transported him, goodness, he probably 22, 23 years old, but he was one bad individual. A bad, bad boy. Says Jocelyn, hi Steve, I'm usually a night owl, but too tired tonight. Sorry, can't hang and watch. Well, I hate that, but look forward to seeing you next time. Single mom before. Nope, I was inmate. Never did I ever work in a jail. Okay. Not even on the as a trustee. And that's something you have to understand about in the jails. You know, there's a lot of people in there for a lot of different reasons, all across from every type of crime, and there's all different classifications of criminals out there. Some of them just for whatever, you know, brings them in the house, and some of them are absolutely evil. I know that there's some information coming out now. I don't know how true they are about that. The FBI had requested those stops, and that will be interesting if they did, and for what reasons. And then was it just to identify if his hands were injured, or if he had any other type of injuries, which, you know, I don't know, or if it was a welfare check to make sure everything was okay, because he's not on his planned route or the quickest route. But, you know, anytime you plan long distances, you know, you have several different routes you can take. And him being a vegan, maybe that was the route that had the best restaurants on it. I have no idea. Yeah, let's see. Okay. It says, "Hello, Steve. Do you find this is from IMS 93? Do you find it weird that the father flew to Washington and then both drove back to Pennsylvania? To me, that seems hard and inconvenient, unless BK's plan was to hide the car in Pennsylvania in the garage." Thoughts? That is a possibility, because it is that if you want to spend a maximum amount of holidays with your family members, and if you're going to buy a ticket, it would be easier for him to fly home. Doesn't mean anything by it. I mean, maybe him and his dad has a special relationship and they wanted to spend some time together. I don't know. Um, but, you know, if you want to spend maximum amount of time for your family rather than take a multi-day road trip in a car that is 7 years old, you would take a flight. And he didn't. And so we'll have to see exactly what was the reason. And there's going to be some interesting stuff. And I've been studying on the vehicle itself. You've got a vehicle that is supposedly used in a homicide 2,500 miles away from the crime scene where it was identified as being part and being a new crime scene. Because if that's the conveyance, the vehicle that brought him to the crime scene, and also is the vehicle that transported him back to either a staging area or back to his residence after the crime was committed, that vehicle and the potential of the DNA in that vehicle and being a crime scene with evidence in it is huge. And so it's got to be processed. And who will be doing that process? Will they be sending investigators from Idaho to Pennsylvania to the crime lab there? Are they just going to let the technicians in Pennsylvania? Is the FBI going to have all the processing? Are they going to ship the vehicle back to Idaho to be processed? And that's going to be interesting in and of itself, because that's one of the first things I thought about, that if we had such a case arise in our jurisdiction, what decisions would be made, and who would process that vehicle, and how would it be processed? And so, never faced that situation, and I'm looking forward to see how they handle that. That's a good question, and where it goes, we really don't know yet. I tell you the truth, if mod had paid, I'd be a lot less poor. And that's something I've got to make sure all our mods get in touch with us. I'm glad you mentioned that. If you would, Jennifer, get with Mrs. Steve. We all our mods we want to appreciate and thank, and we're running behind, but need to get with all you mods and thank y'all for everything y'all have done for our channel. Hopefully at some point y'all do get, I mean, I don't even know how anyone could ever afford everything that the mods do. It's absolutely amazing. I know I couldn't afford to pay what you're worth. You know, absolutely unbelievable. Let's see here. Coco Melon. Eyes of the younger Delphi sketch are a exact match of Ron Logan's jail mugshot. Wonder if LA did that on purpose. You know, Carter, when he was talking about, and as people that's watched my channel a long time know, that the sketches have absolutely drove me crazy, especially the explanation by Carter of that, you know, you put them together, throw them away, and you have a bridge guy. And him saying that, you know, a sketch is only a sketch. It's not an actual photograph, which is true. And what a witness saw and what they were able to describe. And we saw how many people looked like those sketches. I mean, it was absolutely amazing of how many predators in the world of CSAM that's involved that have that look like the original bridge guy image, and absolutely amazing. And then when you look at the young image, once again, how many people that have been brought up over the years that look like that? It's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's see here. And yes, genealogical DNA is what we're hearing through all the reputable news outlets. It could be, and as long as it's DNA, um, and hopefully it's something that is not easily explained away. Um, uh, Meaning, is it a mixture of his blood DNA with some of the victim's DNA, or is it a bloody, you know, fingerprint? There's so many different ways, or blood drop out near the roadway that's not part of the crime scene itself, and which will tell volumes as soon as they find out. Vision Mac, the Nightbot plan, absolutely, I love it. No, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Never cry. Not if because I make Mrs. Steve so mad and aggravated so much that I don't. It's a wonder she doesn't cry all the time. Um, I come in and she'll work so hard getting the house as clean as she can, and then Mr. Steve comes home. And JJ says, I don't think the stops by police were planned, just coincidence. Could have been. Absolutely could have been. And we really don't know. And the parallels between the Delphi case and the agencies involved with what happened in Idaho are so similar. You know, you had multiple agencies coming in, and from the state police to the FBI to the local agencies, and the numbers of personnel. And one of them slipped through the cracks, and the other one, is absolutely exemplar on how they handled the case and brought it to a closure at such a fast pace, and which I'm extremely happy for. And hopefully it will proceed on that track. Black Rose, $2. Thank you, Steve and Mrs. Steve. Happy 2023. Thank you for their support. We make use of that, and I'll probably make use of that in just a few days um, as I travel up to the Midwest. Let's see. What else we got here? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot. Y'all have to remind me about some of this stuff, Blue Light Special. Normally, Mrs. Steve is here doing that. She loves that blue light. I've got another one or two over there that I collected over the years. That these things here are out of date. I don't. That's probably a late 1980s model. The one that's over there on the corner is probably an early 80s model. It's a lot bigger. A lot bigger. I was going to mount it, but didn't have enough room. Christine Robinson, I just found this presentation. Glad to have you here. Christine, we talk about just about anything you want to talk about, from floor fires to Delphi to Evansdale to what the hot topic right now is being covered by so many is this road trip of this individual here. And like I said, as we move forward, and I'll be taking notes from tonight, seeing how chat goes, and y'all let me know what else should we talk about, and do we want to just focus on a single topic, or do we just, it's going to be a couple nights a week, and how do we proceed? Do we do like we are now, just whatever's hot and whatever we've talked about for the last week, or um, and just catch up on questions that I missed during the rest of the week with my other crews, and now I've got my insomnia crew here. But I'm glad to have you here, Christine. And for the people that don't know about me and my abilities on the Google machine, you're just going to have to bear with me. Um, I admire people that have some of the channels like Kristen. She's able to handle all this stuff so quick. Nancy, Mrs. Steve works hard too. Totally deserves the rest. Absolutely. She, if y'all knew what she does every day, is absolutely amazing. I am so lucky. Um, uh, you know, if I had put out and took resumes of what I expected my wife to do in 33 years, um, you would have never, no one would have ever even wanted that job. But what she has done and has done for me in my career and continues to do for her career is absolutely amazing. I am the luckiest man on the planet, without a doubt. Single mom for tell Mrs. Steve we asked about her and love her. Absolutely. Thank you. Let me go to go to Evansdale for a few minutes there. Mindy, Mindy says, "Good Lord, I'm getting attacked by a cat. My eyes are burning and I can't see to defend myself." Mrs. Steve is allergic to cats, so if she was there, she couldn't help you either. Waffle House. Everybody loves Waffle House. No, Mrs. Steve, yeah, she's getting her beauty sleep, but and she'll get up real early, and she'll be up in a matter of about 4 hours. Don't know, I go to bed at 3 and I'll get up at 8. I get 4 or 5 hours sleep. But seeing red flags, Mindy, right there with you. I have an audience of 3 cats staring at you. We have an outdoor cat, but we don't have an indoor cat. Oh, from Australia. Good. Glad to see you here. We have 1 or 2 other people from Australia, and I want to go there so bad, but I don't know how long of a boat ride it is. It would take me several days to get there. I don't fly. We're glad you're here. And then we have Mary Lou Waite from New Mexico. Um, Glad you're here. Absolutely. Let's see here. Who else we got here? Look into Bardstown, Kentucky cases. No nickname. I love it. I love your name. Love that name. Absolutely. But let's see here. What else we got here? Yes, I love Waffle House. I love Waffle House coffee. Actually, I asked Mrs. Steve tonight for supper if she wanted to go to Waffle House. She didn't. I'll get her talked into it in a day or two. And here's what actually tomorrow night after my show, I will be on Christians Behind the Crime Door. Um, uh, we'll be speaking um, and for an hour or two. She has another guest that's going to join us, and I'm looking forward to that for tomorrow night. And there's Fuza. Glad that you're here. Good to see you. And I hope Brian gets good compensation when he is freed his family report. And that's something that is important to look at is that, of course, um, a lot of people have already come to the conclusion that he is guilty. We don't know what the case is yet against him. And he is considered innocent until proven guilty. And so we have to keep that in mind. So, you know, it's so easy to jump to a conclusion and we shouldn't, but we quite often do. And I'm as guilty of it as others. But always we have to remember that there is a possibility that there may be certain things that can be explained away. And that's how come all the information that if you have information on this case that exonerates him, absolutely. That information needs to be brought to the court's attention because in the world's nightmare is that someone is wrongly accused and served time, and you have a monster out there that is actually responsible for the case. And so you have to look at that from that standpoint also. Don't have a problem with that perspective at all. And I appreciate other people's perspectives. Not a problem. Yeah. So thankful for your service, Steve. I had a good 20 years, and I look forward to this new because um, I was trained to do a certain thing, and I look forward to doing it for as long as I can, even on the cold cases and helping these families. You just, I can tell you and explain to you every time that when I talk to the families that I'm assisting with and will be assisting with in the future, that I haven't, revealed some of those other individuals, but that the appreciation that they have and thankful and as I explained to them that it costs nothing on their part. I'll work as hard as I can because I have a great community that supports me, and I appreciate that, and that allows that, and and they are so appreciative of that, and I thank y'all. I'm humbled by y'all's support. Steve, you're a great shot. Interesting. I was a sniper. I shot with some really expert marksmen. Okay, here we go. Got another question from Nancy. Steve, what could be included in the probable cause affidavit, and can it be sealed due to the gag order placed on the Idaho case? Yes, that's going to be up to the courts, and hopefully it won't be, but they have certain guidelines, and the prosecutor says he wants it released, and it will be up to what the defense also will bring to the court. and there'll be a great argument between the Main Street media that information to be released, and where will it go. But what will be in the probable cause affidavit is they can approach it from a couple of different ways. They can approach it, like we said, that with the Delphi case, you had the Ron Logan search warrant where they threw everything, including the kitchen sink, and included all information and about what linked Logan and why his property should be searched and why he was a suspect. And then you have where you'll have certain officers that will minimize the information and only put what is necessary to create probable cause, which has very limited information. And which way will this probable cause affidavit go? But I expect at the minimum, you'll have the DNA. And I expect the DNA. Anything above that, I will count as a plus. Now, they may have, and they may, if they throw everything in it, will they throw in all his digital footprint? Will they throw in all their, if they had him under surveillance, what type of mannerisms, what type of evidence did they collect? Do they have hair, fiber? Do they have the DNA? Do they have a weapon, or do they have a scabbard to a weapon? There's so many things that could be out there that could link that individual to the crime. And, I'd rather that they had a great deal of information in the probable cause than just the minimum, because it is, it gives faith and, confidence to the community that they have the right guy. Whereas if you just put the minimum, sometimes people can argue and convince themselves that there's other things involved and that they may not have the right guy. Whereas if you create and show that you have a great case, it can bring confidence to the community that, yeah, we got our guy. And when you listen to the police chief speak, he has that confidence that they've got the right guy. So I feel confident that they have, because I've trusted law enforcement my whole life. Let's see here. Single mom 4. If Brian Koberger hadn't did anything wrong before, then he wasn't in the database, right? Yeah. I mean, they don't keep information. And now it depends on what you mean by database, because once they started the investigations, they will create a lot of algorithms and a lot of databases from cell phone information, people in the area, database of who owned the Lantras within a certain region, and distances, students that applied, or, there's so much information out there and it's so easy to create databases. And now if you're talking about criminal history, then yes, that's a different thing. But if you're talking about a recent database, then it's something different. Let's see what else we got here. "10 hours of traveling had to be fun for you. Heading towards a place, whereas you may be facing what if he's found guilty of these crimes. Yes, that would have been a extremely tough ride for him." And Jeff says, "What's strange is the fact his father flew all the way from Pennsylvania to Washington State only to drive back." And like I said, was it planned? Is that something they had been planning to do? I can see where it could be, explained several different ways. And it just, like I said, if you're going to buy a plane ticket, you would think you just buy a plane ticket for him back. But whatever the meaning of it is, we don't know yet. But we'll find out. Might even be able to find out that whenever the ticket was bought, if it was planned, I think I know nothing about flying, but I think the earlier you buy a ticket, the cheaper you can get them. And you do have to put channel prompts in for other YouTubers. Steve mentioned Purdue. Okay, yeah, and absolutely. There's a lot of great channels out there, and if I see them, like I said, um, absolutely. When I mention them, throw them in there. And if you have some other channels, throw them in there. I don't. I try to support all the as many channels as I can, and like I said, there's a lot of good ones out there. Okay. Ann Hawkins. Hi, Mr. Steve. Thanks for the late night event. When law enforcement issues, I've been on the lookout for the car. Does that go nationwide or regional? What is the average of being on the lookout day for law enforcement? Being on the lookout, of course, you'll have sometimes it's just what radio traffic, and they're extremely local to whatever agency, such as countywide, or it may be citywide. And the larger the crime, the further out that bubble goes. And with a national coverage of this, and with the FBI involved, that's going to be multi-state, and they take it all the way to the border of Canada, then of course that's national. And you get teletypes, and these teletypes on our old system, now they have them in vehicles and everything. It's changed over the years of how it used to be. But back earlier, prior to the computer systems being in the vehicles, you'd be on patrol when you got these lookouts, and you had to jot them down. They would just start broadcasting, and they'd broadcast it every hour or two, depending on the type of crime and how close you was, as your jurisdiction was to the crime, and were the potential that if they had any indication of flight path, and that they would, of course, notify you along those routes that might take them to, if they had, if you had an incident that happened in Kentucky and he had family in Florida, we would often be told that be on lookout for on Interstate 75, and so that's what you did, and that's how it used to be. Now with the new computer systems inside the vehicles and all the other applications and apps out there, and the way information is traded is just absolutely unbelievable. So we have to appreciate the new technologies, the new Google machines. Let's see what's going on here. No nickname, True Crime Web. Steve, why do you think most killers kill? Sex, money, what? You can go on there and look up top 10 reasons. It's everything from revenge to, it can be some type of personal attack. It can be, money, lust. Let's see, the top 10. I can't go through them all. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they do have a top 10 of them. But most of them are from the domestic issues to revenge to profit. And, when you get into what the money basis is of generating, that some people just do it for the money to support drugs and things. There's a lot of different reasons why people kill out there. But most of the time, it really is just out of anger and whatever feeds that anger. Um, and and I've seen a lot of anger, and I've seen a lot of deaths, unfortunately. And but there's a lot of reasons why people do, and some people are just pure evil. That they have no regard for life. It's all about their personal gain and whatever their agenda is. Um, but yeah, I've got a list somewhere of the top 10, and it's easy to find out there. And yes, this is Ethan, Dinah, Kaylee, and Madison. Absolutely, we have to remember them. And that's a possibility of why they checked on him. We don't know, but yes, they have to always check. And if you know if they were made aware of it, they might want to have seen who was in the vehicle. Unsolved crimes. Do you think he scurried alone? Yeah, at this time, yes. It was confusing when they first gave out the lookout on that vehicle, occupant or occupants, and so until we find out what the probable cause affidavit says, um, hopefully we'll have a lot more information by tomorrow night. Hopefully. Uh, Here it is. It's acted, not scurried. Don't you love autocorrect? And I knew what you meant. And actually, it's pretty appropriate. Um, I appreciate humor at times. I really do. Picture Mike appreciates it also. Oh gosh, that made my night. Yeah, it's terrible that, and that's what I appreciate for this time of night and everything. Um, yeah, uh, I'm so bad at typing. You guys know what I mean. Yes, we absolutely do. Oh gosh, that's great. Verbal judo. That's laughing out. Some typos are hilarious. I've got to at some point let baby Steve tell you a story of when her grandfather was learning how to send messages, text messages on his phone. uh, every time she still has that text message, and every time we read it, we cry. We laugh so hard. Um, he didn't realize that it autocorrect, and what he said, it absolutely is priceless. Yes, factor in the cost of lodging and gas, cheaper to fly. I had heard that before today. Someone was talking about that. And Jeff F., what I haven't heard is when did his father fly to Washington State? Was it prior or after the murder? I believe it was after because as a teacher assistant, I think Brian had some other classes he attended. And then I believe his father, upon his arrival, I don't know if he stayed a night or two or anything. I'm speculating on that. I don't know the exact timeline, but from my best memory of what I heard was when he got there, then within a short time they went en route home to Pennsylvania. And I saw, and when I was watching Mob Crew, Chris break that down tonight about the traffic stops and listening to the conversation, I did observe that his mannerisms being coherent and able to speak and not acting enraged or crazed or being a lunatic, that it shows that he's in control of his emotions and his mental facilities, which will be a part that um, may be brought up in court, especially if he tries to go down a different route of some type of, you know, mental illness or insanity and stuff, which I don't believe. A lot of people said Idaho doesn't even allow that. And so, but seeing how he acted and being involved in thousands of traffic stops, I saw nothing that would have caused any suspicion on my part. You know, a lot of times when you stop individuals, um, people don't like to be stopped by law enforcement. You know, they're driving along, having a good time, don't think anything of it, and then the blue lights come on, and sometimes they get heated. And of course, he was stopped twice within what is reported as a few minutes, and he didn't get heated on his second traffic stop either. Although you could see that it appeared that his facial features did show some aggravation. But I don't know what he normally looks like. You know, I've only, you know, that was only two interactions I ever saw with the individual, um, as far as him communicating at all. And those are the only ones out of custody I've ever seen of the man. I don't know what his normal behavioral patterns are. Yes, Cop Horse, you're correct. I'm going to be trying to do them twice weekly and try to answer as many questions on whatever topics people wish to talk about. And, you know, it won't be as structured as my other um, shows are. My Tuesdays, my Thursdays, and my Saturdays at 8 o'clock, which I do my slideshow presentation for the first 20 to 30 minutes and then answer questions for the next 45 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit different than that. And it's just going to be, I go through chat and try to stay ahead or try to keep up, like what Kristen does. she she does an amazing job. This plus a crime scene can additionally be a multiple crime. Yes, crime scenes can expand exponentially in a heartbeat. You know, you can be looking and then all of a sudden you see a blood trail leave a crime scene, and where does it go? And where does that take you? And does it take you to another crime scene? Does it take you to another victim? And and then also does it take you to a vehicle uh, that may take you to other areas and other places to be processed, such as a home. And, you know, there's nothing easy about law enforcement and processing crime scenes. It's an extremely difficult job, and a lot of hours goes into it, a lot of documentation. Ramon Madrid, I feel like he may have been incel, maybe not claiming the label, but definitely in his view of women. It could be. I mean, you know, they are of a different cult type situation. It could be. I know we see that term used a lot, and will it be brought up? Absolutely, I think it will be brought up. How many times did you stop someone following too close? You know, in 20 years, and I was, two of those years was traffic unit. Um, Normally, I may be less than five times out of, you know, 5 or 10,000 stops. So whatever number that is, following too close. But I did, you know, every now and then you would. But when I was working DUI task force, um, normally it was failure to maintain lane. Um, I got T-boned one time in a parking lot. Uh, I had my blue lights on. I was working a wreck, and I was sitting in my patrol car when this individual decides to T-bone my car. And when I got out of the vehicle, it was a low impact, probably, they weren't doing 5-10 miles an hour. And I get out of the car, and they get out of the car, and they said, "We didn't see you." And I told them, "I hope not." So there's a lot of reason to stop people that are unaware or not paying attention. I had reason to stop that vehicle that T-boned me in a parking lot with the blue lights on. Wonder why they didn't interview him in Washington. And I don't know if he was or wasn't interviewed in Washington pre-leaving or not. We don't know what interaction with law enforcement was prior to him leaving the state and with any officer. And then being brought back, we don't know. If Perk, whoever that may turn out to be, drove his own car to a crime scene with own legit license plate, he's an incredible dunce. More likely drove with stolen or other sketchy plates. Very possible. I've seen that happen a lot. And we just, that does occur. Especially, if it is the design of this crime and he is an individual that would have tried to cover all the bases and was seeking advice from other criminals of what you did to commit a crime. Happens a lot with bank robbers, that they'll go out there and disguise that vehicle. Although it's a great risk now, it wasn't such a great risk before they had license plate readers. Now it is. Now these late nights will be on Wednesday and Sundays, right? Yes, I'm trying to maintain a schedule. On Wednesdays and Sundays, I also do my members only. Every Sunday, I do it for all my members, from patrol to detectives and commanders. All my members have it on Sunday, and then on Wednesdays, I do commanders every Wednesday, and then every other Wednesday I do commanders and detectives. Let's see. Mods are great. Really create such a civil and appropriate chat for everyone's ears. And I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how many people have been thrown out tonight or not, but I appreciate the mods. Hopefully, everybody is going smoothly. Because I'm through StreamYard and I don't know what's happening on the YouTube side of it. So and I don't have my phone and Mrs. Steve to handle that part of it. But everything appears from the StreamYard side of it to be going great. Jackie Benz, I think the cops absolutely knew who they were pulling over. Very possible, and I do too. I think that they had identified him as a suspect before he left. They did not have enough to formally charge him at that time. I don't believe the lab information, because I think it was somewhere around December the 7th, I believe, is when the information about the Elantra came out. And then on the 8th or 9th, the FBI put out the news releases by the Moscow Police Department is that they were having to create a avenue for the FBI to handle all the tips that was coming in on the vehicle. And so you're only talking about a few days, and then that once that vehicle was identified. And so some of the DNA may not have been there, but some of the people's names would have started coming in on the 7th and 8th, just as soon as that vehicle been identified, that I'm sure all the students there and people in housing and where he lived, uh, 10 miles away, that everyone that went past Adelantra, that even if, you know, as he went to classes, drove to his WSU and teacher assistants and taking his courses, how many people would have seen him on roadways and seen that vehicle and called it in or in parking lots. And so I'm sure he was tipped in multiple times. And so I think he was on a list prior to any of the DNA coming in. Oh, man. And Christian, you don't owe me anything. I'm very proud to be your first member and being a part of your community. And actually, I had forgotten about that, but you were my first member to join. Thank you. I had forgotten about that, and I hate that I forget things like that. But I'm getting old. And Jeff F., I appreciate that they you've been here a few times. They've been very kind and welcoming, and absolutely they are. I appreciate them so much. Let's see here, and gosh, I hope Dylan Rounds gets solved, and I do too. Um, there we go. But I hope I talked to Chris the other day, and it looks like sometime in April or May, I've got a sweep. I've got to go all the way out into Idaho, actually, and look at some other things, and also I'm going to stop by and work with Chris on this. He's going to give some access to some properties and look at some certain areas that hopefully it's done by then. But if it's not, um, I'm going to try my best at it also. What else can you do other than try? Ramona, I like what Chris at Mob did with BG sketches, age progression, getting rid of much of the hair. Yes, uh, I love working with Chris. He's extremely intelligent, and he has some great tests that he does. Is there more news in the Delphi case? Uh, they will be as the courts crank up in the next coming days. Um, right now we got everything coming up from bond hearings to there'll be some other discussions, and there's negotiations going on now, I'm sure, between the defense and prosecutions, and then they'll get their briefs and their notes, and they'll have certain hearings and clear, everything from discovery and all of that start moving through the court system in coming days. So yes, Delphi will be cranking up relatively soon. And room, Idaho law enforcement case handling has been superb. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Patricia says all law enforcement officers probably look at Delphi for how not to do things. And they will look at Delphi, not that, things happening. And I've mentioned it in the fog of chaos of getting to a crime scene and clues being missed. And Delphi is not the only one that at times things can be missed. Happened with Bundy. I think it happened with the Green River Killer, and probably happened with BTK that he may have that we just don't know about, that he may have been tipped in at some point and they just missed it, and it was never realized. But it happens a lot in a lot of these cases. and Delphi will be looked at, and how can we improve on the system. Absolutely aggravated me when I found out that that information was in there and it was missed. And what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again? And then we have a case such as Moscow with the Idaho 4 and these students being murdered. And we see how it could have gone and how it should go. And it's those moments that, that makes you have confidence in law enforcement, and you can see the power of when these agencies get together and everything works out, and you have some people and they don't overlook certain things. And hopefully with the probable cause affidavit read and released, we'll know for a fact that they have the right individual. And I hope we know that relatively. Okay. I have a blue light. Somebody did something. Now, if I don't see somebody recognized and I miss it, I'm new at this stuff, but whoever, if someone joined, I thank you. I apologize. I don't see your name yet, but it's probably in here somewhere. Or if you donated, thank you. I'm not as good at this as Mrs. Steve. I'm sorry. Yes, we broke 5,000. When I first started the channel, I looked at, and when I came into this and decided to come out here and try to be an ambassador, and I said, well, building a channel, what is the average to get to 1,000 subscribers? And it was 22 months, I think, is what the average channel takes, or at least where I looked at. And I said, well, that's a long time. I want to be 1,000 in 11 months. I said, and then of course, I think it was like 9 weeks. And then I've never looked back, and here we are, 7.5 months, and I'm at 5,000. So, I mean, it's absolutely humbling. Never expected it. And from that, growing to 5,000, I never imagined the need or that we would create a database on missing children. And I'm so proud of that. Mrs. Steve worked so hard on it. And then I never realized that there would be families out there that need someone to come in and they would request us to look at the deaths of their loved ones and look at the cold cases. Once again, something I never anticipated, and take it very seriously, and I look forward to working on these and see if we can have an impact. It's amazing how you do one thing and then you get absolutely taken down another path. Steve, how do you feel about the small jail? Brian Colbert will be in jail and tonight. I started off I was working in a small jail. I put working in a small jail this time. Whereas when I first started, it was only supposed to house 60 something inmates. And, we were overcrowded. We a lot of times had twice that many, anywhere from 105 to 120 something in a 60-man jail. And so it was extremely overcrowded. And which we had to, the courts came in and said, this can't be maintained. You have to do something. And so we went and built I think it went up from about 500 or 700 or 800 inmate facility, which filled up. If you build it, just like the ball field, if you build it, they will come. And the bigger jail you got, there's a lot of people out there that can be put in jail. And no matter how big a facility, and I think currently it's in thousands that can be housed and are housed. And but yeah, if you build it, they'll come because there's a lot of warrants out there. I also heard that the FBI had Indiana police stop Colbert in order to get pictures of his face and hands, and several outlets are reporting that now. And I saw that, and it may absolutely be true. may absolutely be true. And yeah, if I missed any blue light specials, we'll do it again. Patricia Burns says verbal judo, um, and great name, by the way. Somebody knows what verbal judo originally is for: de-escalation uh, and law enforcement. And I wonder when they raided BK's apartment in Washington if they found a computer, the amount of research it looks like BK did. I think computer forensics could come into play here. Absolutely. And it will. All his searches, all his data, his papers, his thesis, whatever he was working on, contacts. Did he interview any inmates and what type of crimes and what was his involvement and what other type of crimes may he have been involved in? There's a lot of things that could go on that we just don't know about because, you know, working night shifts, I got to see, you know, there's certain creatures of the night that are out there that have bad intent that work in the darkness. And I enjoyed working in the darkness, but there's some bad people out there that enjoy working in the darkness too. Oh, here we go. Laura Radu became a YouTube member. Thank you. Appreciate that. It means a lot to us. It really does. I have some really great members, and I enjoy working with them. Let's see here. Jennifer says, or 10 topics. I'm good with whatever you do. And like I said, I don't know. I try to be as positive as I can. There's enough in my law enforcement career. I saw enough evil and I saw enough hate and discontent. And you see that even with YouTube and people, is, you know, for whatever reasons can't get along. And I hate that so much. And I try to be as positive as I can, and I will be as positive as I can. And it's done me well for 60 years. Here's yes, I seem to remember being fingerprinted back in the day when I went to work at NIH. It was weird for a law-abiding kid, and the ink is hard to get off. It used to be. Now they've got different inks that are a lot easier to clean. I can remember fingerprinting children and with the old ink system. And you could see the parents absolutely dreading what we were about to do. And some of the kids during the holidays, especially the 4th of July, getting that ink on their clothing. Oh, man. Not that a kid would ever get it on their clothing. Ah, here we go. I'm glad to see you. Good morning, Steve. I couldn't sleep. This will do nicely. That's one of the great names that Mrs. Steve loves. Nightbot here told me a blue light special. So I have to go when anybody hits blue light special because I don't know what's happening on some of the stuff and notifications. I'll throw it up there. Absolutely. MK. Take it, Brian. I bet he was freaking out when he got pulled over twice. I bet he thought on that second one, if he is the individual responsible for this, I think at that moment he thought, this is it. Absolutely agree with you there. The psychological pressures that would be put on him during that trip, and especially after having contact with 2 officers, um, yes, it would be immense. And Patricia, I think BK is like Ian Brady, and he thinks of killing as a craft, and he thought he pulled this off perfectly. And if he injured himself, I think at the moment, and whatever broke him off early, if he was only going in there for finding one or two victims, and then finds out he has four, and then determines that he's injured himself or he became injured, and or just from his training realized I spent too much time here. There was too much exchange of and too much contact, and he realized that I messed up. There's a lot of reasons that he may have left, and may have intended, and I think he did try to do something perfect, and it didn't turn out that well. Here we go. Ann Hawkins, suggestion: one night session, new cases; one night session, old cases; one night specific topic. Okay, that's reasonable. I'll look at that and um, and and see how that goes. But that's reasonable. Or I appreciate the suggestion, and we'll see what we can pick from that that will work. And I think Ann may have made a suggestion about my introduction, and that's something that's coming. Um, um, I have some people that's volunteered to work on the introduction, and as soon as we get that done, you won't have to hear me introducing myself ever again. For DRN, Mrs. Steve is a keeper, absolutely. Pigeon Mac, I'm allergic to cats, and I have 10. Um, I like the your name and the owner of 10 cats. Oh man, I find that humorous. Yeah, I'm very far behind on chat. Yes, I am. You have to. Oh man, I am very behind. You are so correct. Here we go. Then we have $1.49 super sticker. Like I said, I'm not very good at this, so you just gonna have to uh, live with me. And the blue light special. I got you. It's a learning process, guys. It's a learning process. Yeah, it's a long boat ride to Australia. That's the only way I'm gonna get there. Thank you. There, I can tell you that. Oh, man, trying to get down through this chat here and see what's going on. Oh, Purdue's going to bed. Night, night. And that may have been 20 minutes ago. Um, Positive vibes. You guys rock with these lives and keeping us updated. Appreciate it. Yeah, y'all just gonna have to get used to my abilities here now. Let's be kind. Who's not being kind? Do you think that BK could have stabbed that other couple in Idaho? Or do you think that's unrelated? Was he in there when that happened? Law enforcement's going to be looking at all those cases and checking now that they have a person of interest that they can check on that and compare to. That they're going to look at that and see um, if there's any way of linking him to any of those. But yes, they will be looking at a lot of that information. Oh, okay. Steve, because you were on SWAT, my ex was a sheriff on SWAT. You guys are excellent shots. Uh, at times, it is very beneficial to be. And thank your husband for his service. I am way behind on chat. Oh, gosh. I don't even know how many people are in here right now, but I appreciate it. And it's very humbling. Very humbling. Trying to get caught back up in here. Yes, I agree, Steve. I think they've got some good evidence. I can't imagine he got out of that house without shedding some DNA. That would be pretty hard to explain, especially from under nails. Absolutely. That is, and I've never seen, men fight different than women. And I can tell you that the potential of there being hair from the offender and DNA under her fingernails is huge and great. That the odds of that existing, because I've been to hundreds of fights involving females, and there's always broken fingernails and pulled hair. Um, Forensics 805. I heard today that part of the knife used in murder was found under Ethan's body. Will this be included in the affidavit? If that is true, I would imagine it would be. But if that is true, then that would mean that there had to be additional weapons if Ethan was early as being as the victim early on, or he was the last victim, and or there had to be multiple weapons. So I don't know how true that is. I don't know how to pause this stuff, and I guess I need. Well, I don't know. Slowing down chat probably doesn't work. I don't guess I'm in such a situation. Um, Eric McDowell. Hey, bud. Brian allegedly entered the home with 6 young people and killed 4 with a knife. I have a hard time believing that all the chaos, blood, and commotion, that this was his first time. Your thoughts? And at his age, it can be. He is in his 20s, and the development of the male mind, he at 28 is dead center of how the male mind develops. He could be an early budding serial killer, or he could be that he's been involved in this before. And only time would tell, and the investigations would tell exactly what that is. But he's at the age that the average male mind is fully developed, or that used to be the rule. I'm sure there's some professionals out there that can tell you, because I worked with some individuals that were extremely mature at 20, 22. And then I worked with some guys at 40, 45 that they still hadn't matured. They were wild children. Oh, man. And this Patricia Burns, I think he's going to kill them all, but something spooked him and he fled before getting to the last 2. Very possible, or he was just exhausted there. But yes, sir, he could have. Internal clock said, I've been here too long. Why do you think Kohlberger allegedly did this? No, it could be any manner of motives, from trying to be a copycat to he has some type of fantasy. He's a psychopath. there's a lot of different reasons of why he may have committed these crimes. And Sherry, there appears to be correlations between the Laundrie family and Brian and their parents helping their son. And that is often the case, that parents help their children during some of these crimes and things. Oh my goodness, this thing just pops and keeps going, doesn't it, guys? Oh man. I don't know how far behind I am. Y'all just gonna have to bear with me. I'm trying to get through here, catching up as quickly as I can. Suggestion again for Mr. Steve, make one of your evening shows, Mr. Steve, experiment night to show us more crime scene information process, but not tell Mrs. Steve. Actually, during our commanders meeting tonight, I did a little online test of doing this exact thing. And I don't know, you may have been watching in the background if you remember, I don't know, but I did an experiment tonight with them. I like the way you think. No, y'all don't need to stop chatting. Just enjoy being here and being among some good people. Getting there. All right, here we go. See, this is some of your blue light specials I'm sure I missed. Sherry Vincent, $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. That means a lot to us. Appreciate it. Everybody starts putting blue. Y'all are starting to understand me. It says if you look at the timestamps on the stops and end there, they were actually 5 hours apart. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't looked at them. I just saw them on Chris's show, and I thought they had mentioned it was minutes, but they may have, and I don't know which one it is. Let's see here. What we got going on here? Trying to get to all the questions as we go. I think I'm getting close, guys. Nope. Then it does that pop once again. Goodness gracious. This is hilarious. I got stopped in Oklahoma for following too close. Was given a verbal warning by the nicest officer ever. I told the officer I did it on purpose. That's funny. Oh God. Nancy, Steve, why was it necessary for law enforcement to put a helmet and possibly an additional vest on the suspect? I understand the vest, but the helmet was a nice addition. I just don't understand the helmet part of it. But each their own. I wouldn't have thought about putting a helmet on him. But I would just put him in a van with no windows. But maybe they don't have a van with no windows. I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but can I ask you if affidavit says DNA was probable cause, would say what kind of DNA and or just that was DNA? I would expect it would just say DNA, but I could be wrong on that. As long as it's DNA, I'm happy. Once the trial is over and using freedom or for you, will the crime scene photos be released? I doubt it. They could be. Um, and will it be asked for? Probably, but sometimes we really don't need to know everything. Respecting the victims and seeing it. Um, I've got a lot of pictures that are solved cases that um, no one would ever want to view what's contained in them. Every time I think I'm getting down there, then it pops. Reasonable cause versus probable cause. A lot of people make a lot of issues about some of the words used and things. And, reasonable is that you may make a stop and ask somebody uh, why they're in a certain area, and you don't have enough reason to arrest them. And, but you have a reasonable suspicion of them being in a certain area at a certain time, and they act in a certain way, but it doesn't mean that they're doing anything criminal. Probable cause is the level that you have enough evidence to charge them with a crime, and that's basically what the difference of those two are. Once again, it looks like I'm getting caught up, but I know that's probably not the case. It's about to go and pop and jump and put me back up. Jennifer says, I'm back in case you didn't see. Um, Only StreamYard questions get answered, laughed out loud. I think on StreamYard, there's no difference than the other. I may be wrong on that. Let me know if I am. But I think everything that comes through StreamYard is a repetition of YouTube. I just, I think that's where it goes. But then I may be wrong. And if so, the reason I don't go from the YouTube is that it is about 10 or 15 seconds behind, although I'm behind anyway. Yep, there it popped again. You're just going to have to bear with me. I'm trying to get as many of them as I can. I know I'm running long tonight, guys. Um, um, I'm trying to get as much of this in here as I can and cover as many questions as I can. And not overlook people that want to talk. Let's see here. Laura, thanks, Verbal Deal. What a safe live to be part of. Cop Facts fan here and sent me over in high level of integrity and morality here is wonderful. I have utmost respect for Perry. I hadn't talked to him in several weeks, and I actually need to call him. He is a great resource and a mentor that we all should listen to. Extremely had a great career and much respect. I see that I'm starting to get caught up. Well, maybe not. I'm just seeing where people are recognizing I'm so far behind. I don't know. Randy, Steve, probably out of all the YouTube channels, yours is the most I trust because you stick to the facts. So thank you. I try to, and whenever I see something that is speculation, I try to, you know, make you aware of that. Um, and do I, may I at some point misspeak and not clarify that it is speculation? I hope I don't, but if it does, I'll make you aware of it just as soon as it's brought to my attention. I bet Mrs. Steve is going to cook up something pretty snazzy for your new intro. Her video graphic work, she does good stuff, but her, we have a volunteer that's doing a lot of the work for us, and but of course, Mrs. Steve signs off on it, and so yes, she does a lot of good stuff. Um, I would like to hear some of Mrs. Steve's stories about life being the wife of a law enforcement officer. Had to be nerve wracking for her at times. I came in and or she received calls that I was unaware of, and of course she would be upset. So yes, there is times that certain things go on. Um, I love it. No worries, Mr. Steve. I think we're doing a pretty good job of talking among ourselves. Appreciate that. Oh man, that's funny. Now I have to focus on the two girls missing in Florida. I'll look at that. I'm unaware of that. And Christie's Corner for Collectors, if you have information on that and I can't find it, send me an email at steve@truecrimeweb.com. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this world that, there's it's so much. I'm getting down there to where it looks like I'm catching up, but I know what's about to happen. It's about to flip. Here we go. Okay. All right. Steve, I like your stories. Can you share a favorite story from your time in crime scene investigation? some, some of the stuff, uh, you know, you go in there and you try to process crime scenes and you do your best. And we had went in and we were processing and you try to, as you photograph the scene, you photograph the items that you're photographing, of course, that in their natural state. And sometimes, as you take a photograph, you don't realize what's in the background. And some of that can be embarrassing. But sometimes it's uh, that you've taken pictures of the crime scene and there's a mirror behind it. And so you have pictures of your other team members um, in certain compromising positions that are not really um, show them in their best light. And some of those, and I may be able to find some of those and I'll and look at some of them. But I remember a lot of times as I was creating my crime scene books or my murder books, and we would get the pictures back, and I'd be looking through them, and then I see some of my uh, partners that as they were collecting and photographing, they didn't realize what the mirrors, and they didn't realize how big of a part they played in that photograph. And so I always loved showing that to them. And sometimes it was photographs that you couldn't present to the or put into court without you couldn't get the evidence in without having that specific photograph, and you couldn't alter the photograph. And so, but I'll see if I can find a few of those. I'll look through my history of those. But yeah, sometimes um, you get those and moments that are, like I said, it don't show the investigative team in their best positions. Oh man, do you think this guy? Don't you think this guy was probably wearing a hazmat jumpsuit wherever part of himself covered? There's a possibility of that. I would normally say not, but there is a case to be made for this. If you have a highly intelligent and person trying to commit the perfect crime, um, and there is a possibility of that. I think it's extremely remote, but that was something that we'll have to look at. And I hope that's not the case, but it is a possibility. Oh yeah, I'm not reading every comment. I'm probably getting 1 out of 20. I can't believe how many people are here tonight, and I'm absolutely honored. Um, what the heck is Steve doing on this lake? Yeah, that's funny. It is. It's like I said, it's a new format that we're going to be looking at, and appreciate everybody being here. Once again, I'm trying to get down here and see how far we are. Steve, if this guy wasn't caught, EK, do you think he would have done it again? Yes, I do believe that he was an individual um, that if he did the stalking and it was part of his fantasy, absolutely. I'm trying to get to the bottom here. It shows I'm getting close. That doesn't mean anything because every time I get down here, it jumps back up. Once again, I planted hundreds of pepper seeds. Keep talking, Steve. I need to get this done, and you're keeping me awake. That's my whole inspiration. Oh goodness. Oh god, that what what is the main purpose of your show? To get pepper seeds planted. Oh man, it looks like I got to the bottom. Oh goodness, is that possible? Well, guys, I've made it to the end, and I appreciate it. I did it in 2 hours, and I'm glad everybody was able to get here tonight. And I appreciate everything, and I know I missed a lot of different people, and and uh, um, and some of their comments and everything. But this is our first show, and I'll go back and review it, and I'll see what which directions we want to go, and I absolutely um, appreciate all the support and for everyone that donated. If I missed you, I apologize, and all the viewers and everybody that it all means something at the end of the day. All the support and absolutely enjoy it. But all right. Does Mrs. Steve know you're on the Google machine? Yes, she does. Um, Now she's not aware of it currently, but she knows it. You're awesome, buddy. I like you a lot. You're very interesting. Thank you, guys, and I appreciate it. Y'all stay safe out there. But I'll do some reviewing on this and see where we're going to go. And tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, we'll be here. And I look forward to seeing y'all. And like I say, be safe. Take care.